Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you to another episode of Shikikan Frontline, episode 5, and today we'll be talking about the things that has happened in the month of March. Now, March has been a somewhat of a very unique month in the fact of it's very difficult to kind of tell a lot of things, especially with what Micah was saying with their 2019 calendar being pretty stacked and that they couldn't really find any room for any filler events, no matter whether those be, I don't even know. At this point, I'm not too sure what they classify as a filler event. We did have a pseudo boss bully event where we just had to clear the maps where there were bosses on normals 1, chapters 1 through 6. So that was somewhat a nice little change of pace, if you will. But in the month of March, we have had a few different types of things. We've seen our first skin rerun, to my knowledge, with the wedding rerun. We have a new mechanic with the fairies, and then we do have some new characters that are now available to us. But I do want to speak on those characters because I've already seen these characters claim a few people's lives and resources. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. The first thing, as always, that I want to talk about is going to be the monthly roadmap. Now, right now we've gone through every single thing on here. We've had chapter 8, normal and emergency drop. Now, one thing that I do want to say with this is this was hands down, by far, the best story-related chapter that we have had up to date, in my opinion. I've been watching some of the KR streamers, and they will turn around and show kind of, they'll go through the story, and, there are certain people in that story where I'm just like, yo, how did that happen? Why is that happening? What's going on? And, that's, relatively way far down the road. And, I turn around and I look back at this chapter and I'm like, oh my God, what is going on? I can't believe this. That's how that happens. Like, the story is something just incredibly well done. I just fanboy it too much, whatever you want to call it. It is incredibly well done. I will also say that when it comes down to the bosses for chapter 8, getting digged down by it. That new, I guess, boss mechanic or boss implementation of the way the boss fights is definitely one that caught me off guard. I know when I was playing it my first time through, the movement pattern was very quick. I didn't really see a telegraph to it, and I was just kind of standing there tanking it, and I said, oh, okay, I'm sure I need to pop G36C's little invulnerability soon. I pop it, and then she swooshes to the side, and then just pew! And I'm like, oh crap, dude, what is this? What is going on, dude? So that was something. This all around, man, chapter 8 is just fantastic. It was so much fun to play through, and I had a lot of fun with it. Now, we did have the wedding dress voucher event. There was a reward and a different costume, and that was a Kalina costume. And Dumplings pointed out, I think on the last podcast that I did, or maybe 2 podcasts ago, I said that I wouldn't ever change Kalina skins from the live 2D. And then this skin came along, and I was like, oh, wait a second, hold up. And so now I've forsaken the live 2D ways, and I've gone to this Kalina skin. I think it's really pretty. I think the aesthetic of it just looks nice. It's really nice. So I like it a lot. Like I said earlier, this event was a pseudo boss bully. You didn't necessarily have to kill the boss in order to get the chocolates, but that's just sometimes how it winds up. I know on chapter 1, sometimes the boss moves up 2 spaces and you can just clear the stage without even killing her. So that's just one example of how that could happen. I know also we were able to get crit scope out of that, which was really nice. And then tokens, of course. This event is already come and gone. Then we do have the Fairy system and the heavy equipment production. That's something we'll be talking about in somewhat detail a little bit later in the podcast. Then we did have our rerun of a past gacha. I believe this is the first time that we've potentially had this. I can't really say for sure because I wasn't here in the very, very, very beginning of when the game first dropped. But I think, like to my knowledge, don't quote me on this, I think this is our first rerun. And the way that they did it was relatively interesting. Then we did have a new gacha skin resupply that came along with it. And then we are here at the end of the monthly roadmap with the 3 new T-Dolls, all of which are shotguns. So, of course, one reason why I wanted to try to do this podcast right now is because looking at last month, the way Micah did it is they showed the units. They did grape, strawberry, M200 on, like, let's say day X, but then they did the rate up on like day Z. And so the rate up, is over here, but as soon as the character drops, some people, whether they may not read the mail or whether they may not, be on social media to see that, the rate up and the drop date, release date are different. It's claimed a few people's resources, and, that's definitely something that, if possible, I wanted to be able to prevent or at least throw that heads up your way. So that way, if you do a bunch of rolls, and I know somebody in my Discord did a bunch of rolls, and I think he used all of his resources to my knowledge. I think he did. He turned around and he goes, man, I did, X amount of heavy pulls. And he's like, I didn't get a single character that was on the rate up. And I was like, well, brother, I said, that's because the rate up ain't even live yet. And he goes, eh? You're kidding me. I said, nah, Chief. I said, rate up don't happen till this weekend. And he goes, man. He's like, well, maybe one day I'll learn to read. And I said, well, maybe one day it happens to the best of us, Chief. So this is what we were given for March's monthly roadmap. Now, when it comes to April's monthly roadmap, I'm hoping we'll get it, relatively soon, maybe on Thursday, hopefully Friday. We do know Deep Dive is going to be next. Some people are saying that it's going to be in May. I couldn't find a source for that statement. I do read all the Q&As from Reddit, Twitter, and Discord. I don't read on Facebook, so if that's where they found it, then somebody feel free to shoot me that screen cap. I'd really appreciate it. But at the very least, we do know that Deep Dive is going to be our next event, and that is something I'm looking forward to. But the question is when will it drop? It's not a matter of what does not matter to me. It's all about when, for me personally. If it does come out in May, I'm really curious. I am so curious to see what happens in April. Because, like I said at the beginning of the podcast, they did say that this year, 2019, is going to be stacked. We're going to have a lot of stuff. So I'm very, very curious to see what they will do in April if Deep Dive isn't, even on, man, I don't even care if it's the 29th or the 30th, and they drop Deep Dive, hey, it's in April, but I'm just very curious to see what they will be doing come April and come the monthly roadmap. So that's definitely something that I am looking forward to a lot. I think a lot of things are going to be determined for me about what happens once that roadmap hits. So let's go ahead and talk about these things in a little bit more of a detail. So this is going to be particularly for the rerun of the past gacha. We do have older characters. I think Lee is going to be the live 2D skin here. This has been live for quite a while, through the month of March, but it will be live until April 1st. So just in case you've been waiting, whatever have you, we'll go over this just very quickly. It says during the rerun, Lee Enfield, FAL, P7, Tokarev, and PPSH41's Lily White Val's costume will be added to the Radiant Collection. Gotcha. So that's going to be in that 40% off. Gotcha. To do a 10 roll, I believe it's just going to take you 60 tokens. That's going to be really, really nice. Now it says when you obtain the costume, there will be a 50% chance it is a costume from the Lily White Val's Gotcha. When you obtain a 5-star furniture, there will be a 50% chance that it's a piece from the museum trip set. When you obtain a 4-star furniture piece, there will be a 50% chance that it's a piece from the Holiday Promenade set. And then after the rerun ends, the fully white costumes will be removed from the Radiant Collection and pull rates of the furniture will return to normal. So this is going to be one of your best times in order to get these costumes. Now, I believe, I could be wrong, but maybe before this rerun was out, I think FAL's wedding skin was available via black tickets. Okay, because I think I remember talking about wanting to get that one of these days. But this, I believe that you can just go ahead and go get these skins now. Now the way that this works, it's a 2-fold system in the sense of the same way the characters work. You have a X% chance of getting the characters, and then or the skins, excuse me. So you have all these different type of skin sets, okay? So if you actually do get and roll, hey, I'm getting a 5-star skin, then you have that 50% chance to get that 5-star skin. So, you shouldn't be seeing, 25 skins in one roll, of course. But, if you do land that first RNG roll on a 5-star skin, then you have 50% chance to get that bride skin or the wedding skin. So these are some fantastic skins that, rerun 40% off. I'm not going to complain about it. I'm also not going to pull on it. Let's go ahead and go to our new skins. We do have the updated ones. I couldn't find a good picture that kind of showcased all of them. It was just the ones that kind of did it in single or double fashion. So, this is going to have to be the one that does its work for me. So it says we do have the obtainable in the Sweet Imprints resupply gotcha available from March 16th to April 1st. Again, this ends on the same time as the rerun ends. And then it says you can decorate your dorm with the full set for an Easter egg. And so I believe that also includes you getting the G36 costume. So you got to get that one as well for the full set. Do not forget about that. I believe this also holds the Vector Live 2D. Definitely a fantastic skin. I don't know why, but for whatever reason, man, Dumplings is just getting some love from me. This man, everything, man. This man's everywhere. So I know I was watching this man's pulls. I think let's say he had like 12 or 13 multis to do. And I'm sitting here watching. And, now, of course, I don't want him to not get the skin. But, given the little bit of banter between the two of us, I was kind of hoping he didn't get the skin, if you know what I'm talking about. And so we turn around and, I'm watching him go through his pulls and, he got a few skins here and there. But, it's not the Vector Live 2D. And we get down to the wire. We got 3 pulls left. Nothing. 2 pulls left. Nothing. And I'm like, okay, RNG, I got 1 pull left. I said, don't give it to him. This whole time, I'm like, man, if he gets it, that's cool. But, I'm trying to, I want that. It's like 51-49. Don't give it to him, but give it to him. And so he's like, man, and I promise you this is what he says. He goes, man, I ain't even going to look at this one. He goes, I already know I ain't going to get it. So I can only assume my man closes his eyes, clicks multi-roll, and I'm sitting here and I'm like, this is the pull. Do yellow. And I'm like, okay, This is it. Boom. Vector Live 2D. The last multi, the last pull of the multi. Vector Live 2D. And I'm sitting in my chair just watching it, and I'm like, there ain't no damn way this man just pulled it. The very last pull of the very last multi. So definitely the Vector Live 2D is, in my opinion, a little bit better than the Lee Enfield Live 2D. So congratulations to that ugly man. Dumplings. You know, like I said, of course, I'm happy that he got it, but just from me to him in our little banter, you lucky son of a gun. So I'll give it to him. So if y'all do roll for this, don't forget, you know, there is going to be a little bit of a Easter egg in this. Also, this will be mentioned down the road. I believe the stories for the Sweet Imprints characters will be added to the cafe later so that you can get, whether it be posters, little extra stories, or yeah, I believe you even get like a certain type of background for the I think if you complete the entire set, you get like a little wedding chapel background. Looks really, really nice, especially if you're able to get, you know, the Live 2D, or you're able to get, you know, whoever your favorite wedding character. It looks superb. So definitely, this is a really good wedding skin set. Let's go ahead and move on to our maintenance. So we had maintenance earlier today, and this is what I wanted to talk about just briefly. So we do have our new T-Dolls. The following 3 shotgun T-Dolls will be added to the heavy production pool after maintenance, which, as of the recording of this, maintenance has already happened, and these are live. We have AA-12, a 5-star shotgun. We have M1014, a 4-star, and we have Spaz-12, a 4-star shotgun. Now, these characters, like I said, have been added to the entirety of the pool in the game. But from March 30th to the end of March 31st, the pull rates for the new T-Dolls and heavy productions will be increased temporarily. And I believe that's going to be on Saturday and Sunday is when we have the rate up for these characters. So please do not be fooled. You know, if you're looking specifically for the rate up, then please wait until this weekend. Now, you know, depending on what you decided to do, you know, you could have been one of the people who said, yo, I don't really care about, I don't really care too much for the shotguns for whatever reason. You know, I want to go do fairy pulls. I'm sure you've already done your fairy pulls by now. But if you were like me, who is waiting for those juicy shotguns just because I like my juicy shotguns, well, please wait a little bit longer. Hold out just a little bit longer. You've been waiting and waiting and waiting. You've gone through Logistics Frontline. You've, you know, resisted the urge and the temptation that is the fairy pulls. Please just hold out till this weekend, and then you can blow your load all up on them shotguns, and, you know, let's see what you can get. Now, the Sweet Imprints theme side stories will be added to the game after the maintenance, and that's what I just previously talked about. And then we'll also get the Arctic Warfare PV, which is basically like the trailer / commercial, kind of like the way they did Cube. Once that ended, it was added to the cafe. You could buy it for, I guess, however many batteries. And then, you know, you'd have that. You just download it in game, and you're able to watch it right there through the game. Very top-notch quality. Looks really good for Cube. I haven't seen the Arctic Warfare yet, so I'm definitely looking forward to watching that once I get the time to do so. Now, one thing that I do want to talk about before we move onwards is going to be this right here. We have the recipes for shotguns. Now, if you did read the little mail that was given to us a while back, I think it was before the maintenance or like after the maintenance, or one of the two, Micah did give us their official recipes. Now, for me, if you haven't seen already, I dude, I love micro recipes, bro. Like, I'm out here, I'll use micro recipes, whatever. Hey, you tell me that they're gonna have a higher increase chance. Hey, say no more, fam. I am down to clown. Now, the normal recipe that we have been doing for the longest time is 6264. That's 6,000 manpower, 2,000 ammo, 6,000 rations, and 4,000 parts. That has kind of been our go-to thing for the longest period of time. However, if you take a look at this picture right here, you'll notice that we have all the rifles available to us. We got the 3-star, 4-star, and 5-star rifles. So yes, this is the cheaper recipe. However, if you only need shotguns or only are aiming particularly for shotguns, this is not, I want to repeat it one more time, this is not the recipe that you want to use, simply because the actual pull percentage is lower using this recipe because there are so many rifles that you have a chance of pulling. Now you say, well, okay, what is the recipe that we want to use? If and only if you're going after shotguns, then you'll want to turn around and use 8,000 manpower, 1,000 ammo, 8,000 rations, and 4,000 parts, or 8184. That is going to be your recipe. Now, why do we use this recipe? If we just take a look here, there's the SMGs that were available to pull from. However, the amount of SMGs are significantly lower than what we can pull for rifles. I'm not going to say that these are every single 4-star and 5-star and 3-star rifles because, I could be wrong, but the amount of rifles that are on here, just by taking a brief glance at the two of them, it is significantly larger than the SMGs. So while it is a little bit more expensive on your resources and you won't be able to do as many pulls, the quality is increased enough without taking away from the quantity of the pulls. And to me, I believe that is extremely worth. Now, I think I'm shooting for 200,000 manpower and rations. I think if I were able to do the 6164, I think that would give me like 33 pulls. But if I do 8184, I believe that gives me 25 pulls. I will take that little bit of a difference to increase the quality of my pulls. Now, I don't need rifles. I have every rifle. I really want to complete my shotguns. I believe I'm missing Sat 8 and then the 3 new characters. So this is definitely going to be the recipe that I'm going to be using, the 8184. Now you say, Tug, that's fantastic, that's great, but where did you even get this from? Of course, credits given where credits due. Sniper 201, I believe he compiled this onto the Google Docs. This will be in my description box of the video if you're watching this on YouTube. If you're watching this on Twitch, feel free to hit me up after the actual podcast, and then I'll shoot it over to you. But he, I believe, plays on the CN server, either the CN or the KR server, and they actually have a recipe. And then I think if you maybe tap and hold, or if you click the recipe or something to that effect, it kind of shows you every single T-Doll that it'll be able to pull from using said recipe. And so I believe he just compiled these together. And if you take a look down here at the bottom portion of the screen, if you do 130, 130, 130, 30, here are your possible characters that you can pull. I don't think Contender works on this one. I've been doing it for a while. Where you at, Contender? But, jokes aside, you do have your characters, you have your fairies, and then you also have, a bunch of equipment. I think this is a really great little Google Docs. Like I said, it'll be available in the description box down below. But this is what they show on the CN and KR server, so I'm going to take it for what it's worth. Like I said, I'm going 8184. What are you going to be going? Are you going to be going 6164, 6264, or 8184? Let me know. I am curious. Or did you lose out and already use all your resources? Let me know. Let me know. know. Now, let's go ahead and get to the juicy part of the podcast. So, in the month of March, we had Fairies unlocked. Now, with Fairies, there are so many things you have to know or you want to know, so that way you don't, do the wrong thing at the wrong time, or just something goes wrong and, oh man, if I did this, that would have been great, compared to, oops, I accidentally did this and I messed everything up and I lose out on all these, yada, 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 yada. So, first off, I do want to say the way that you unlock the Fairies is you have to have 60 bronze medals in total. That's it. It doesn't matter if you do all the entirety of normal missions and then a few night missions, or half normal, half emergency, and then a few nights. It doesn't matter how you get it. As long as you have 60 bronze medals, heavy equipment will be available for you to roll on. Now, how do you acquire said Fairies? You have to do heavy equipment pulls. Okay, so it's going to cost you cores, it's going to cost you resources, and it's going to cost you equipment contracts, of course. Now, if you do decide to quick produce, it'll be 10 quick production tickets, just like the heavies. One of the few differences between the two of them is that when you, the minimum pull that you can do is 500 instead of 1,000. And then 100%, no matter what happens, if you get a pull that is X amount of hours, that's a fairy, guaranteed. It's lit. So you do have that there. Excuse me. Now, there is going to be a few things with the Fairies that I do want to mention before we move onwards. You do have two types of Fairies. You have a combat fairy and a strategy fairy. A combat fairy, I believe, will have an orange-ish, red-ish outline. For y'all colorblind folks, I think there's a little bit a tint of red, but I could be just blind. So as you can see here in this picture, when we take a look at it, I have the combat auto on, and it says cancel under that Fury Power Fairy. That means that no matter what fight I go into, it will always activate that fairy's skill. And it will always take away the fairy command, aka fairy energy. I'm just going to call it fairy energy. So it'll always take away my fairy energy for, every single fight. Now, if we take a look at a strategy fairy, that combat auto turned on, it still says to activate my strategy fairy's ability. Now, I only have two fairies. I got the command, which is EXP. Everybody gets it after doing one heavy equipment summon. And then I've pulled two rescue fairies. Now, from just these two fairies, it could be different for everybody else, or for any other fairies, I don't know. For just these two fairies, when you click activate, it lets you summon it makes you choose a team, as you can see here, and then you choose that team, and then for the next fight, it goes in and you're able to use whatever that skill says it is. So for the command fairy, for the very next fight that you fight, you get a little bit of extra EXP. For the rescue, you get just a little bit, like a minuscule chance of getting a rare T-Doll. So, those things can be increased, the values can be increased, but from these two fairies alone, it's only one fight per turn. And so you can't really double stack it. You can't be like, oh, yo, I'm going to be at the end of turn 1. Let me go ahead and use this. Turn 2 comes around. Let me use it again and stack it. It doesn't work that way. It's, if you use it at the end of turn 1 and you don't fight anybody, turn 2 comes around. Well, guess what? You still got that same thing and you can't really do anything. So use it in the best of your ability, whether it be, efficiency for farming EXP wherever you're at, 02, 54, 43E, or use it for, if you got rescue fairies, hey, you trying to go for PK, you want some dupes, you want some good 4 stars, whatever the case may have you, by all means, This is the difference between the strategy and the combat fairy on how to use them. I know when they first came out, I was like kind of confused. I was like, yo, how come this is like this, but like it's not, you know, this one's not being affected by that, yada, yada, yada. That's kind of like the little, I guess, mechanic of how that is mechanically working. I don't know how to like end that sentence, but that's how it works, okay? And so that's what you're going to have to do. Now, I do want to say that I do not have much knowledge of fairies. Like I said, I haven't even done that many fairy pulls. I think I've done probably 20, 25. I'm saving for shotguns. So the amount of knowledge that I have is very limited. I'm not going to sit here and try and be like, Mr. 5 million IQ big brain. No. We're more like 5 IQ little brain, okay? So when you got 5 IQ and you got a little brain like myself, that's when you turn to Google Docs and you have a bunch of different resources to help you, or help me more specifically, learn things about fairies that I will never know if I didn't have these. So this, if you're on Twitch, you can just type in !fairies. If you're watching via YouTube, it'll be in the description box down below. Now, as you can see here, we do have this thing called the Fairy Encyclopedia, and I think Sniper201 was the person who sent this my way. I don't know if he's the person that made this, but he definitely sent this my way. So one thing that you'll notice, I'm going to give you the master copy. Now, the first thing that they tell you to do is you have to make a copy for your own usage. Now, the reason why they say that is because in these boxes right here, I can actually change these out. And what I mean by that, I'll show you right now, is that I can actually choose from any of these fairies, which is extremely nice. So let's say I want to look at the Taunt Fairy. Now they're going to have this thing, which is called their, it's called an aura. Basically, their passive stats that they give to your entire team based on, you know, their level, based on their star rarity, things of that nature. So we can see here, Taunt Fairy. Let's say she's only a 2-star. If she's a 2-star and let's say she's like level, I don't know, let's say she's 50, okay? These are the types of stats that you're going to get added to your team from this 2-star Taunt Fairy. Now, if she's a 3-star, you know, it'll go up by, well, you know, a little bit here and there. But of course, once you get to that 5-star, which is extremely expensive, and then you turn around and get her to 100, you'll get the max stats. One thing I like about this Google Doc right here is that it does tell you the build timer. So let's say, you know, I'm going through here and I'm like, I would like to get the airdrop character. Okay, let's see. Oh, I need to get a 405 timer. Okay, great. Then it gives me more information down here. It'll tell me, okay, you know, at skill level 10, it does this. You know, at it'll cost 5 energy, fairy energy, and then it's got a cooldown of 5 turns. Okay, you know, that's not too bad. That's pretty cool. Then, you know, you can look over here to the left. And one thing that I do want to mention most definitely is data. You thought that we needed data. You thought we needed a lot of data when it came to characters. Brother, sister, let me tell you something. We're going to need even more data. Because depending on what type of character you are going to be leveling, or fairy that you're going to be leveling, if it's a strategy fairy, you're going to need double the amount of what characters use. So if you're using a strategy fairy, the entirety of basic data goes from 600 for a character to 1200 for a strategy fairy. It goes from 1020 for a character to 2040 for a strategy fairy. It goes from 500 for a character to 1000 for a strategy fairy. That's a lot of data. All right. And I'm going to just tell you this. If you have the ability to get the dailies from this month or the daily packages from next month, you know, if you have that ability, it is definitely worth it because that data is going to come in mighty clutch. Then if you do a combat fairy, you know, if you're leveling up a combat fairy, no matter who it may be, this is one thing that I do like about the combat fairy, is that there is consistency between the combat fairy at 1200 per rank. Now, it does suck when you get to, you know, that advanced data. That's the most expensive one, but that also hurts a lot to level up. Now, another thing, you know, you do have their talent rate. Now, the talent is something that differs from fairy to fairy. Maybe you'll see a talent that says, you know, damage 1, or maybe critical 2, or accuracy 2. If it's a silver talent, it'll be outlined in silver. I think if it's a gold talent, it'll be outlined in gold. And that basically just tells you the activation rate for said ability. You can see here, depending on what star rarity you have your character, is the potential for your activation rate. Now, once you hit 4 and 5 star specifically, you are going to be activating that talent every single fight when you go into the fight. Even if you don't use the active portion of your fairy, which the active being the skill over here. For this pair, well, let's use a different one. Let's just use the command fairy, since everybody has the command fairy. So the command fairy changes to a combat fairy later on, but right now it's a strategy fairy on Ian and JP, I think. So every single fight, you don't get this EXP gain, right? But if you have a 5-star command fairy, no matter what that talent is, you will always get it. So, you know, if you have damage 2, and I don't know what damage 2 is, like maybe 15%, you'll always get an increased 15% damage because you have it at 100%. So you don't even got to spend fairy energy. You just straight up get that. So, yes, that's extremely nice, but let me tell you, that's a long ways away from what any of us will be getting anytime soon, because in order to get that, I believe you need like 30 dupes of the same fairy, and then you need to make that run from level 1 to 100. It's actually insane. Now, last but not least on this little Google Docs right here, it does say, okay, you know, for these specific fairies, you got to use this this recipe right here. For these specific fairies, you got to use this recipe. Everything else that isn't these fairies, you can go ahead and grab with the minimum, which, you know, your boy is going to be doing that a lot after Shotgun Rate Up. Now, this is just one of the 2 Google Docs that I use, and of course, credit given where credit's due. This is another Google Doc that I use. Again, link will be down in the description box. !Fairies if you're in Twitch right now. This kind of gives you a more in-depth look at what is going to be going on with the fairies. I'm talking, you know, you got 7 main points here you can go through. You got all these things down here at the bottom. This thing is just stacked with information. It could take me like an hour to go through. I'm going to spare you the trouble. If you have something in particular you want to look at, just use this Google Doc. That's exactly what I do during stream or off stream. Now, real quickly, I do want to mention that the aura is going to be the passive buffs, like I said earlier. Just in case you need to see a visual of it, I know I'm a visual person. The aura is going to be in this top right-hand corner. The active or the main skill will never change from fairy to fairy. If you have a command fairy number 1 or command fairy number 5200, it's always going to be that same experience overload. That difference then becomes the talent. The talent will change from fairy to fairy to fairy. The one thing about talents that you really, really want to be careful about is the calibration cost. You can change the talents of said fairies. The only thing is the calibration cost is significantly higher compared to equipment. I think equipment is going to be 15 at the most, and then you just spam 15 until you get, you know, max of whatever you're looking for. The difference here is it's 60 calibration and then even more resources on top of that. So I believe one thing that they mention up here, keep all your fairies copies until you confirmed they are fodder material. And that basically means, what if you pull fairy A, B, and C? All right. And what if you're just feeding into fairy A? So B goes into A, C goes into A, D goes into A. Well, what happens if E has damage 2? And that's one of the very attractive talents. Now you're going to have to go A into E, and you miss out on B into E, C into E, D into E. So now you lose out on a lot of EXP on the developmental side. There are 2 levels of fairies. You have your developmental part, which basically is with their rarity, their star rarity. And then you have their actual level that you're leveling through every single fight that you do. Now, once you get to, let's say you're level 70, and you don't have any of the developmental leveled up, you'll have the ability to go to star rarity 2, star rarity 3, star rarity 4, but you will not be able to get star rarity 5 until you get level 100. So these are some things that you want to keep in mind. Also, having the ability to have, at least 10 fairies for when not Arctic Warfare, when Deep Dive comes out, is going to be something very useful. So, maybe you level your fairies up to level 50, then you go onwards and level something else, just so that way you can get that good aura in every single echelon. That'll help you out a lot. Like I said, man, there's so many things that we can talk about when it comes to fairies. We could just talk about it all day, all night. I don't know which ones are the best fairies to use. I've heard, this is just from KR's side, I've heard Sniper Fairy is going to be good to just level up collab fairies or event fairies. Just because, according to them, don't quote me on this, Sniper Fairies are just kind of meh. So you just feed them to the fairies that don't get dupes. Which makes sense, because you're going to need a lot of them. A lot of dupes. If you don't, or you're going to need a lot of Sniper Fairies if you don't have any dupes. So, hey, that's what they told me. Don't quote me on that. Like, hey, no, don't quote me. So that's what they told me when it comes down to that. And like I said, these will be available in the description box down below, or if you're on Twitch, !Fairies. Now, let's get into something juicy. This is going to be something that I believe is going to be kind of sad, kind of upsetting when it comes to Q&As. Now, last month, I didn't really have any Q&As. I didn't have any questions that I thought were interesting. Most of them were, when is this character coming out? Or when is this skin pack coming out? Or when is, whatever coming out? It wasn't anything like, yo, what is your opinion on this because of that? Or blah, 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 blah. There wasn't anything that just really made me, ooh, that's a good question right there. So, this month, however, I think we've got some good stuff for this month, and that is something that we're going to talk about right now. Let's go ahead and jump into that. The first thing that we have is going to come from Discord, and more specifically, I want to look at question number 1. It says, what are the team's thoughts on doing a monthly stream showcasing what you want to show us compared to the community asking a bunch of random questions? Now, the answer to that was, I don't think there will be much to say if you're doing a monthly stream. The reason you don't see these streams too often in older servers. Also, as I've explained before, it is technically difficult to do a stream for Western players in China. Now, I want to talk about a few things here. First off, I think that's BS. If you have a lot of 2019 filled to the brim, it's overflowing. You don't know where to put anything at as far as filler content goes. Then why can't we talk about that on a month-to-month basis, right? That's one thing. That's actually the main thing. If you have all these things, people will either find a way to show up, will rewatch the VOD on Twitch, or you'll have content creators, sit there and talk about it, or upload parts of it, or upload the entire thing, whatever you may have you, onto YouTube. And then we can talk about it there, right? Or, hey, maybe people do podcasts, or maybe they write vlogs or blogs or whatever have you. That is what they said is false. However, one thing that was not known to me until somebody came into the chat and told me is that it is actually impossible, or close to impossible, or just not really worth it for them because of the Chinese laws and government and, things going on over there. Now, I am not well versed in politics. I don't care for it, and I ain't finna have none of that. But I will tell y'all what was told me is basically it is extremely difficult for them to stream things or make videos or what have you if it's not like if it's not like promoting like Chinese like whatever. Okay, so like it's extremely difficult for them to do it for the like the EN server because it's not like promoting the Chinese stuff. Okay, now like I made sure to like dumb and water that down because like, yo, I'm live streaming on Twitch. Your boy don't know what's good and what ain't good. I ain't trying to get my door busted down, have FBI come in here, and then hey, I ain't trying to have none of that. But that's basically the generality of what it do. Okay, so it's because it's not promoting the Chinese government or the Chinese whatever, it's going to be a little harder for them to promote EN stuff. And so once I was told, yo, it's more of a political thing compared to like, we just don't like you, then that made a lot more sense. And I said, oh, yo, if it's that way, bet say no more. I ain't gonna worry about it because, yo, I ain't trying to have the Chinese government bust down my door and then me get, taken down and whatever may have you. You know what I'm saying? So if I don't want that done to me, I don't blame them for them not wanting it done to them. Of course. Now, the biggest thing that I want to talk about it hurts. It truly hurts. I'm not going to lie to you. There was a question on Reddit, and if you don't mind, I will take a sip of my drink. All right, that was more like a gulp. I appreciate that. There was a question on Reddit that went something like this. If you don't answer these types of questions that we have for you, whether they be big and bad company or big and bad company, excuse me, I need to take this back a step. It's not difficult. And this is going back towards the reason why it's difficult for them. It's not as an individual. I thank you for DMing me. It's not difficult for them as an individual. Like the way I set up a stream, it's not difficult for them that way. It is difficult for them as a company. The company Micah, it's difficult for them because they don't want to get in trouble with the law, the government, whatever have you. Thank you for that clarification in the Discord DMs. Now, going back to this question, basically, what type of questions does the Micah team want us to ask? Because if we can't ask these juicy questions like, yo, how come, we can't get these challenge type, missions on a weekly basis? Or, have you thought of implementing this? Or can we do this for the EN server? Or that for the EN server? Or this for the older servers? Blah, 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 right? If we can't ask questions like that because they won't get answered, or they'll get answered in the way of, if it doesn't happen on the older server, then it ain't gonna happen on the EN server, right? If it can't be answered in that sense, the Reddit user asked, what type of questions do you want us to ask? And here was the response. We were expecting questions about contents we have in EN, especially with a major content release like Fairy. The purpose of the Q&A is to answer questions directly related to gameplay and provide a straightforward feedback reply channel. Now, when I read this, I could misinterpret this. By all means, your boy is, hey, I read things differently. People read things differently. I could get the wrong impression. So please correct me if I'm wrong, or let me know if you feel differently. The way I see this, Fairies come out. They want all of us to line up and ask them questions about how it works. But we already have English speakers who play on older servers that have created guides, that have created YouTube videos, that have, that stream, or that are on Discord or on Reddit and can answer these questions quickly. So what I think when I read this, it says, hey, we are going to go on 4 different platforms for an hour per platform per day. And if you have a question about how the gameplay mechanic works, ask us. If you don't have a question that's like that, I can't really say that I'm going to answer it. That's kind of how I view that. Now, of course, if we have like actually good suggestions, like one person said, like, can we get a separation between our daily quests and our weekly quests? Because if they're put together, well, And then the person, the Micah dude goes, oh yeah, that's not a bad idea. I'll forward that to the devs. Okay, if it's something like that, great. But when you get down to those real juicy ones, hey, challenge quests, hey, co-op, hey, PvP, hey, whatever. Zip. It's tough. And so mainly the biggest thing around the Q&A, what they are kind of expecting, or what their intentions for the Q&A is to almost be like a streamer or a content creator or just someone who's knowledgeable to say, yo, I did my research. I know how it works. I can tell you. And I can tell you from the source side, rather than like some content creator who like, they might have like a 95% idea of how this works, but that like 5% buffer where they could be wrong, I don't want to take that chance. I'd rather just ask Micah and get the 100% chance of like how it works. So that's kind of the questions that they were expecting with the Q&A. So for me, like now going forward, knowing what types of questions to ask, I'm not going to invest as much into the Q&A as I did in the first month or the second month. And then kind of going through the Q&A now, I'll know where to set my expectations. I'll know where to set my limits, my standards for what I'm going to be reading. It's not going to be like, yo, why is it always, what character is coming out? Why are these questions always here? Now that I know what they know, that what they, are looking for, now I can tone back. I can take a step back and say, okay, hey, this is actually what they want, or this is what they look for. They're getting what they want. And, I can't be mad with that. Now, if you do hang out on my stream, you'll know that for a while, throughout the month, we've talked about quite a few different things. And one thing that I wanted to bring up, kind of mention, kind of throw you away, just give you a little cup of tea, give you a little something to sip on. And this is kind of something that I didn't think of until I actually thought of it on stream, and like in that like heat of the moment, was this. What if Micah is waiting to get to a certain point in the story before they start releasing content, or different, like even like more content and bigger variety content? So, like, let's say they're on chapter 11, we're on chapter 8. Okay, they got Isomer, and then they've got like this new theater mode. If you haven't seen it, it's pretty cool. I know some people are a little disappointed because it's not like an actual co-op thing. It's more of like a, hey, competitive solo thing. So depending on whose side you're looking at, you could be upset, you could not be. I think it's pretty cool for what it is, right? So they get, kind of different variety of things, right? Because they're at chapter 11. So what if Micah is like, yo, we want the game to be out. We have a 10-year idea. When we get to chapter like 15, then we're going to drop all these huge content. We're going to give them these challenge quests. We're going to give them these, like, the entirety of whatever. PvP, co-op, guilds, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Now, I'm not saying they're going to do this, but what if this is the idea? What if they're, like, heavily focusing on story to get us to a certain point in the story where then maybe, what if we go, hey, you get to chapter 15, well, yo, you did your work here at Griffin. Now you can either choose to go to this company or you can stay with Griffin. And then whatever you do decides the outcome of from there forward. Or, man, there's so many different things that could happen. But my thing is what if they're waiting to get to a specific point in the story for them to then release it, relatively quickly or more often, or just more differences in content? Because I'll say this, man, GFL is one of like the most diverse content given games that I've seen, and I'm talking about KR side. I ain't talking about Ian side because we don't have a lot of the things yet. But if you kind of take a look at other gacha games, it'll be new character banner comes out, new content with these characters come out, okay? And maybe this is like, get X amount of event points and clear all the, rewards from it. And then another banner comes out with different character skins, but then it's the same content with a different story. Get X amount of event points, and then you get all the rewards, etc., right? When it comes to GFL, it's like AW, ARSMG, big goodness. Few machine guns here and there. Great. Deep dive. Rifle, handgun, machine gun, whatever else. With fairies. So see, now we add +1. Then the next event. Let's say like with fairies, you need the fairies. And now you need like all these other units, right? So now you need like mixed teams and all these other things, right? Then like the next event. You need all these mixed teams. You need the fairies. And now you get mods. So now we have +2. Then the one after that. Well, now you need fairies, mods, and now you need Hawk. So now you have +3. It always is adding a different mechanic into the fight, which never leaves it stale, right? Like, yes, you're still killing stuff. Yes, you're still trying to get it, but there's an added mechanic to it that is really nice, that I think is really different. It's nice, okay? So what if they get, chapter 15, we clear this. Now we're going to add, instead of focusing our story, because we've completed the main storyline, we'll add story here and there, but now we're going to shift to content. And now we're going to have weekly challenge missions or monthly challenge missions. And then we'll turn around and have, these weekly ranking ladders or co-op events or guild events or yada, 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 like what have you. What if that's how it's going to go? I'm not saying that's how it's going to be, but that was just a thought that I had, and I thought, that's kind of clean. I likes that. Because in my head, it kind of makes sense, They really are investing into the story. Let me tell you, Chapter 8. Fantastic. Must read. But, maybe what if that is the way that they do it? I don't know, man. I don't know. But, I just wanted to throw that out there. See what your thoughts are. See what whoever's thoughts are that may be watching or listening to this Do you agree? Do you disagree? What do you think? I don't know. All I can say is I've been watching the CNKR servers. Their stuff looks clean, bro. Their stuff looks clean. But I do want to say I do have a new YouTube series coming out soon. It's basically going to take an account from tutorial all the way to 0-2. And I'm going to give like just kind of like my thoughts behind like, yo, this is where I level. This is what I'm doing this right now. These are how I do my dailies. These are how I do my weeklies. These are what you should focus on. You know, just giving every single bit of information that I can give when I get to certain points in the game. Because when I first started playing, I had somebody literally guide me to 0-2. They held my hand all the way through 0-2, just because there is that learning curve. There is just so many things that you can do to mess up super quickly. And so, you know, if I can do that in a YouTube series, hey, by all means, I can at least help more people instead of just like helping like one here or one here or one here. At least maybe then I'll be able to get help for a lot of people. So be on the lookout for that new YouTube series. This was also live streamed at twitch.tv/Tuglow. You can also catch me at Twitter at Tuglow_. And then you can join the Discord server where the link and every link will be down in the description below for the YouTube video. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate the support very, very much. This will be the end of Shikikan Frontline episode number 5. When will episode 6 be? It just depends on what we see with the roadmap coming out for the month of April. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you do have the best of pulls for shotguns. I hope you get every shotgun you want. I hope you get every single fairy that you could ever possibly ask for. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Be sure to follow me on Twitch so you can see when the podcasts or just GFL streams in general are happening, or subscribe to me on YouTube so that way you can catch the entire VOD or little episodic portions of the VOD and more GFL content. Thank you so much for watching. Be safe, be easy, don't work too hard, don't study too hard. Be sure to stay hydrated. Make sure you don't forget to eat, stay healthy, and I will catch you in the next one. Much love, God bless, and peace out.